y'all. Welcome to Hustle Humbly. It's Alyssa and Katie, and we are two top producing realtors in the Baton Rouge market.
We work for two different companies where we should be competitors, but we have chosen community over competition.
The goal of our podcast is to encourage you to find your own way in business.
So stop comparing yourself and start embracing your strengths. Hello, friends. It's Katie.
And Alyssa.
And we are here for episode number 51, the intro to investments, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair because that's all I can really speak to.
Okay. No,
I want to really speak to.
Okay, fine. We'll talk about the intro to investments.
Okay.
Okay, very good. So why don't you start us off since you are an investor? So we're not just coming at this from the perspective of an agent. We're going to hear your perspective as an actual real estate investor.
Well, I know that there are not a lot of realtors that have planned or even think about retirement. Retirement seems like something that is mythical and is super far away. And if you have parents that are still working, like my goal is to not be working.
Do you have an age by which you hope to achieve that?
I don't know, because I do enjoy work.
Yeah.
And I do think that I'll probably work longer than I have to just because I enjoy it. And I enjoy being productive, but I just want to have the option to scale back when I'm ready and travel, and whenever Haven has kids one day, you know, be able to be there. And but it's like seems so, I don't know why I'm so in tune with it. Like I think about it all the time.
Really?
I do. Like I always think about like long-term financially, are we saving? Are we putting money where we're supposed to? Like we can't work forever, you know? And I don't know why I think that way. Like even in my 20s, I always thought about it. And when I started making money in real estate, it's like you think you're making a lot of money until you realize that you don't have stuff being taken out of your checks for 401ks. You don't have retirement set up for you. It takes you being diligent and actually putting money aside from each check.
Right.
And so whenever I realized I needed to start doing something and just getting used to that not being there, I went and met with a couple of different financial advisors, and I never could get comfortable with any of them.
Yeah.
Either they just couldn't explain. I mean, I consider myself to be, I have an MBA in business.
Right.
I could not understand
the numbers
they were talking about.
Yeah.
It was like conversions and Roth IRAs and IRAs and SEP IRAs and blah, blah, blah. And like, I just couldn't get comfortable. And like, they wanted me to hand over like, you know, $50,000 a year and be like, bye, see you in 45 years.
Right.
And I was like, this is terrifying to me. I don't understand it. I don't feel in control of my money.
Yeah.
So what I opted to do, and again, I'm not here as a financial coach. I'm just telling you what I did that has been working well and is still like my track that I'm on. And this is the advice I give like my young people or first time investors.
Yeah.
What I decided to do at the time was just contribute the minimum or whatever to my IRAs each year so that something is going in there. I do have IRAs set up. I can't tell you about them or explain those to you.
Right.
I know they help me with taxes, and I know that I'll get the money one day.
Right. Okay.
But what I do understand is like the houses that I own, and I understand the numbers, and it's easy for me to understand. So it's much easier for me to put down a 20% down payment on a piece of property than it is to write a big check to a bank and not know
what's happening.
Understand like when I'm going to see this money again.
Yeah. So
obviously the first step is that 20% down payment.
Yeah.
And I think it's good that that's a requirement. People complain that that's too much, and I'm like, it's a big deal. And I think it requires discipline to save that money. There are others out there. I work with investors that do this, that leverage that money. They borrow it from a house that they already own or something. I am like not that person.
Okay.
I'm not a big risk taker.
Yeah, you're conservative.
I'm very conservative. I believe in saving money to get what you want, even if it takes more time to get there. And I think in the long run, you're going to be in a much better position.
Yeah.
And actually, a good example of this is that one of my rental properties that I owned was in this new construction neighborhood that I really wanted to buy in because it was close to my house.
Mm-hmm.
And they were not allowing investors to come into the neighborhood. They had maxed out what their investors were. Well, they ended up calling me like 6 months later and said, "Hey, Alyssa, they want us to close out this subdivision because they're starting another subdivision and they're moving me." And they said, "Sell what you have." And we only have 2 houses left. And they are, next door to each other. If you want to go look at them and let me know which one you want, we will let you have one as an investor. So I was like super excited.
Yeah.
Well, I had another investor who was also looking. So I called them and told them about it. And I was like, yeah, like I'll own this one. You can own that one.
Right.
They're basically the same house, same price. Well, they leverage their down payments. They borrow their down payments. And so the numbers worked out to where like I would get my money back in like 17 years or something. And just by leveraging their down payment, the numbers worked out to be like 40 years for them.
It's a big difference.
Yeah, like you would think it would only be a 20% time,
right?
Percent, but they ended up not moving forward on it because it would take way longer to pay it back than it would with mine. And their monthly note was going to be way higher because they're basically 100% financing the whole thing. But anyways, I just think that the 20% down payment is good.
Yeah.
The first house I ever bought, I knew we were kind of looking for an investment property. I was ready, like my husband and I had that conversation about my retirement and how I don't have any. So we were looking, and I showed this really nasty house in Shenandoah to some buyers, and like they wouldn't even go inside. Like when I was unlocking the door, you could smell dog.
Oh no.
And they were like, "This is already a no." And I was like, "I know, let's just, maybe it'll surprise us." We opened the door and it's just like carpet and dog. That's really, it wasn't a bad house. It actually had some really cool features. It had these brick arches in it. And they were just like, we just can't do this.
Yeah.
And I ended up making an offer on it for myself, got a heck of a deal on it.
Yeah.
Spent like $6,000 for all new floors. I think I had to get some appliances and then paint. So $6,000, and it was move in ready.
Yeah.
And I bought that in 2016.
Okay.
And it's just awesome. Like what the tenant pays is more than covers my note and gives me income that I don't use, but that I just leave set aside to maybe put back in the house or for repairs or updates or whatever. But that was my first house that I bought.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was like, I understand this.
Right.
I know where my money is. Jennifer Richardson in my office owns, I think she owns like 30 something, maybe more than that, investment properties. But she said, what I love about real estate and investing in real estate is that if the stock market crashes, you're not left with a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Even if the housing market, quote unquote, crashes, you still have a house.
Yeah.
And you can use it and you can do whatever you need to with it.
Yeah.
So it's just something tangible that like I'm not scared of. I see my grandparents and stuff like checking the stock market all the time and like living on the roller coaster of anxiety. And to me, it's like gambling. I don't want to do that.
It is a lot like gambling. You have to be in it for the long, long haul.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's pretty cool. So how many do you own now?
Right now I own 4.
And so that's kind of one a year. Is that what your goal is, one a year? Or do you have a goal?
I wasn't really sure. I feel like because I take things slowly and because I manage things myself and have systems in place that make me feel comfortable, I'm fortunate, I have not had issues with tenants.
Yeah.
like I said, I bought my first one in 2014, so I'm 6 years in, and I can honestly say I've never had a situation.
Okay.
And I've had lots of tenants come and
Mm-hmm.
go. I've never had any significant damage. I've never had to evict anyone yet,
Yeah.
but I'm like always preparing for the worst.
Right.
You
For
know,
sure.
I mean, I've had like a roof leak. I've had, an AC not cool proper. I've had things like that, but
Yeah.
those aren't hard things because you just call a roofer
Yeah.
or you just call the AC company.
So you manage your own though, right?
Yes, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
One of the ones that I bought, um, I was not planning to buy. I went for a listing interview. This guy called me and said, Alyssa, I need to sell my house. I don't live in this. I live in Georgia and it's a rental property. I used to live in it, but I've had it rented. I have a property management company managing it. And he's telling me about this like cute house. And I pull up and I'm like, I don't know when the last time you saw this house was,
Oh
but
no, it was not
it's
cute
not cute
anymore.
and it's like falling down. Not
Oh
really, but the front
no.
porch was falling off.
Oh my gosh.
And there was just a lot of things wrong with it. And as I'm walking through, the tenants are like, yeah, we told them that this was broken and they sent some guy who put like tape on it and it's not really fixed. Like, I don't think anybody manages things the way that you would.
Well, because it's not theirs.
No.
And you have to spend the money to pay them.
Yeah, and here's my thing, okay? So you hire a property management company that takes a percentage of your profits every month, okay? The AC goes out. What's the difference between the property manager calling you and the tenant calling you?
Right.
Either way, someone's calling you.
Right.
And you have to handle the situation.
Yeah.
So why not save money and just, I know it's different if you own like 50 rental properties. Okay?
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's a full-time
like
job.
10 and under.
Yeah.
Jennifer manages all of hers.
Right.
And feels fine with it. But,
yeah.
It's a job, but
yeah.
but it's making you money. So it's worth it.
Right.
But a lot of the listing interviews that I have been on that were under some sort of property management just showed me that the way they fix things, maybe the quality.
Right.
I haven't seen one that I was like, wow, I'm really impressed.
Right, with what they're doing.
With how this was done.
Yeah. Makes sense. Okay.
So I took all these pictures of that house and I sent it to him and I made a long list of the things that the tenants told me were wrong with the house.
Yeah.
I said, this is going to surprise you and I'm so sorry, but your house is not in good condition. These are the things that are wrong with it. Based off of this, I'd offer you like 160.
Right.
And he was like, what? And he was shocked.
Luckily, what did he think it was worth?
He thought it was like worth like 195.
It's a big difference.
Yeah. And so the tenants wanted to stay, which was great because I wasn't planning on buying it. I had the down payment saved, but I did not have money to
do the repairs,
renovate it.
Yeah.
But the girls wanted to stay. And so I just let them stay. And then 2 years later, when they moved out, I had the savings to then renovate it.
Yeah.
And then I rented it out for 2 more years. And then I really renovated it and ended up selling it for $240.
That's great.
So it was a good one. I really bought that one knowing that I was going to sell it because it was a pier and beam house. It was like an old wooden house.
Yeah.
And it was so cute.
Yeah.
But I know like long-term pier and beam houses just have a little bit more maintenance associated with them. So it's not ideal for a rental property.
Right.
But it just opened my eyes to like, especially with everything being electronic these days, between like Venmo or Quick Pay with Zelle or Cash App, like whatever you use, you don't really need a management company that collects the rent because they just send it to you. There is no check in the mail or anything like that.
Yeah, you don't have to send someone to knock on the door.
No.
And so that's the point. The property managers aren't actually going to the property.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
And you pay them what?
I'm not here to dog on property managers.
No.
I think that they, I'm sure there are good ones. The houses that I have bought have been from property managers that were not taking care of the property the way that I would want my property taken care of personally.
Yeah. So tell me this, because I've heard numbers in our market. Do you feel like there is a standard for property management, like what that fee is? Is that kind of
I know
common?
it's usually 75% of the first month's rent for the
Okay.
first month.
Okay.
So that's to like get the tenant.
Yeah, get them in there.
And then I've heard anything from like 10% to 25% a month.
Whoa. Okay. And I've heard as low as 8, and I would typically hear 10 a lot, but I've never,
Oh,
20,
no, I've heard some.
25's a lot.
Yeah.
Sheesh. Okay. Well, they better not be calling me at all for 25%.
No.
And it better look like a dream.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So I know in previous episodes, we have talked about, or you've mentioned that you don't really represent a lot of investors anymore because of the time constraints of that and sort of the amount of work it requires. Do you interview investors when they call you now, or do you always send them elsewhere? I
always send them elsewhere.
Yeah. When you were representing investors, how did that go down? Did you okay, for instance, I know in your previous, what you told us was you would get somebody who wanted to be a new investor. Hey, I want to start investing in real estate. Tell me what to do. What is your kind of go-to?
Step 1 is 20% down. Oh,
right.
Okay. Well,
yeah. Oh, never mind.
A lot of times they didn't realize that's how much it costs up front.
Yeah.
They see the TV shows. They want to flip houses.
Right.
That's the biggest thing I hear. People are like, I want to get into flipping houses.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so does everybody else.
Right. Even 15 years ago when I started, this was the problem then. There's all those shows on TV and we want to go flip a house and get some quick money, or I like to pick out stuff. I want to go design a house and flip it. It'll be so fun. But I'm like, you have to have all this cash because there's so many other investors in the market already doing that. So they're not good. Even your 20% down isn't going to hold a candle to their cash offer.
Oh no. So when I'm trying to buy an investment property, I usually don't buy anything over 200. I usually pay between 100 and 150.
Yeah.
And so I need at least 20 to 30 to 40,000 as a down payment. And then I budget for 10,000 to do upgrades to get it to where it's in good enough condition to rent out.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking at $50,000 to $60,000 before jumping into buying a rental.
Yeah.
But if I was going to flip a house, which I have flipped 2 houses, and I will say they were profitable, they were not worth it to me.
Right.
I did not like the stress. I did not like the anxiety.
Yeah.
I did not like having an empty house that had a mortgage on it. I didn't like coordinating contractors.
Right.
I didn't like when people gave negative feedback on the things I picked out. I didn't like any
of it.
And then at the end of the day, the money you think you're going to make, it's never what you think.
Yeah.
It's always going to be less after fees and taxes that just eat you alive. It wasn't worth the time spent.
Right, because when you broke it down by the time you spent on it, you really didn't make enough.
Not worth it.
Okay, so you won't do that again.
I don't think so.
But it's probably good you did it so that you have that experience.
Oh yeah, I learned so much, and it's the first time I did it, it was fine, and we did fine. It was very stressful. But the second time I did it, I just thought it would be easier because I had done it before, and it went as well as it could.
Right.
Not like anything went wrong, but it just let me know this is as good as it's going to get, and I just don't care for it.
And that's just not right. Your threshold wasn't there.
No.
Okay, so as you collect up these rentals, is there a point in time when, at the end of the line, when you start to use them for your retirement, you sell them off? Is that what happens?
So I think the goal is a couple of things, and I'm still figuring this out as I go.
Yeah.
I wasn't really sure if we wanted to set a number for how many or what kind, but eventually they will all be paid off using the tenant's money.
Right.
So the way that this started was day one, we have bought our first investment property. I took that tenant's first month's rent and deposit check.
Mm-hmm.
So he was paying $1,400 a month. Okay. So he gave me $2,800 deposit, rent. I went and opened a separate account just for rental properties.
Okay.
And so every month on the 1st, the rent comes in because I make it a requirement that my tenants have it on auto draft for the 1st.
Okay.
And the mortgage goes out. My mortgage on the first one was like $705. He's paying $1,450 a month.
That's pretty good.
So every month it grows by about $700.
Right.
So it was growing pretty good. Anytime he called about something small, I just used the money from that account. It never made me feel like I never paid the mortgage. I have never paid the mortgage on this house. I've owned it since 2014. Yeah. I have never paid a mortgage or paid for a repair. And for all you people renting out there, this is why you should buy.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'm telling you how the landlord is using your money.
Using your money. Yeah.
And so after about a year, I was like, well, this is easy peasy. Like, this is great.
Right.
So I got another one, and it was a smaller house. And it was just, again, I went on a listing interview. And I had run comps before and knew it was going to be like $125,000. It was a small 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. I had just sold one a street over for $135 that had a few updates. And the lady was like, can we list this thing for like $105? And I was like, well, why would you do that when I just told you it's worth $125? And she's like, well, I don't live in Baton Rouge. I inherited this house. I have to cut the grass. All the utilities are in my name. I don't want to come here. I want this to be over.
Right.
And I said, would you take 95? And she kind of thought about it and said, yeah. I said, deal. I'll buy it right now. And we wrote the purchase agreement.
Instead of a listing agreement.
I love it.
Bought
it. And that has been one of my best because it was so cheap. It was basically like having a car loan instead of a mortgage. Like my mortgage on it was like $500 a month. And my tenants paid $1,200 a month.
Good grief. You make $700 on that one.
$700 on that one too. So now the account is growing by $1,400 a month. And again, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like so hooked on this. So my goal was, to pick a number that I felt comfortable with, that I would let it grow to. Yeah. And that would be what I left in the account.
Okay.
So I figured that number should be between $7,000 and $8,000 per house.
Okay.
So if I have 2 houses, maybe leave it at $15,000 or $16,000.
And then what do you do with the excess? You would then use that
to paying off the principal.
Okay.
So when it gets to $10,000 over the limit that I have set for it, I just take that $10,000 and apply it to the lowest principal.
Okay.
And then, so fast forward, now there's 4 houses. And so the account grows using the money from that. It got to where that teeny tiny house, we paid it off.
Yeah.
Never using any of our money.
Right.
Like, ever.
Right.
So now that house is bringing in $1,200 a month instead of $700 a month.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden the account is growing even faster.
It's exponential, right?
And I'm paying off the next one even faster than the first one.
Yeah.
And I'm not using any of my money.
Okay, here's my next question. When that account grows, you've never used the excess as the down payment on a new one, though?
I haven't.
So you're just taking it and paying off the mortgages?
Yes.
Okay.
You could, though. I would not be against that.
That would be an acceptable use of this extra money?
That would be an acceptable use of the funds.
Okay.
The people that get in trouble are the people that live off of the income.
Yeah, right.
Because then they're using it for vacations or updates to their own home, and then all of a sudden they too need a new roof at one time. Insurance doesn't cover it. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
The people who I have seen fail in real estate are the ones that were not financially smart to save the money. Yeah. Ones that flooded in this big flood we had that weren't in a flood zone. And because you're an investor, you get zero help from FEMA or anyone. Yeah. Those are the people that lose everything. Yeah. And it's just, I have seen it happen. And I think that's why I am the way I am. Yeah. And I think, I feel like the way that I think about investing is not the way your typical investor thinks.
Yeah.
I always think about this one investor that I have worked with, and he is so aggressive.
Right.
And just, it makes me so nervous. But he's at a point where I guess he's not nervous for whatever reason.
Right.
But it's hard for me to advise my clients to do something that I would not do.
Right. Right.
And, maybe I could have like 10 more rental properties if I would, quote unquote, leverage myself more. Like, people talk about leverage.
Yeah.
Like, leverage. I'm like, guess what? Leverage is debt.
Yeah.
And debt has to be paid.
Right.
And I want to be in a position where I'm trying to get rid of debt.
Yeah.
In fact, the last rental property we bought, the mortgage experience was so strenuous.
Oh, no.
It wasn't the lender's fault. It was that we're so complicated now.
Right.
The amount of things that they needed from us, me being 1099, Tanner being W-2 and 1099, 4 investment properties, the stuff that they needed was insane.
Right.
And I told Tanner, I think that this will be our last time to ever get a mortgage.
Oh, really? You're just going to save it up and buy them outright?
I'm just going to save it all up.
Yeah.
And get to where we would need it. Or sell something.
Yeah, to buy something else.
Maybe let the rental account grow if we wanted to use maybe some of that to go towards paying cash for something. But, I've been doing it for 6 years. I haven't had any issues. I've never paid a single mortgage on any of my properties with my own cash.
Yeah.
But I do think that you can get really comfortable there and get ahead of yourself. And the question is too, like, in the event that they were all vacant and something terrible happened, how long does your savings float you?
Yeah.
So I feel like, my goal is to just stay in a good position.
Yeah.
Using other people's rental income.
Right.
Without having to come out of my pocket to do things.
I think that's fair. And I think
I'll put up the down payment and that's it.
Yeah. I think it's nice that you're also not talking about 10 or 20 or 30. I mean, it's 4, right?
Yeah.
Right now we're at 4.
Hello, friends. We are so excited that so many of you are using the template course, and the reviews are just pouring in, letting us know that it has helped your business as much as it has helped our business.
Yes, listen to this review. Thank you so much for providing this wealth of information, knowledge in template form. So far, I've used a handful and received positive feedback like, "This is so professional," or "I really appreciate how organized you are." I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah,
your clients are actually going to say that.
Yes.
All right, here's another one. Thank you so much for this. I can't tell you how many times I've started this and how many notebooks of samples and notes I had. I have ADHD and it is super hard to stay focused on getting it done. Having it all in one place is going to make it so nice.
That is what we're here for.
I know, just look, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just use these.
Yeah, nice and simple, easy, ready to go, ready for you to put your own logo on, make it sound like you. So head over to hustlehumblypodcast.com/course and check it out.
That's right.
And you're going to enjoy them. You're going to love them.
You're going to
change your life.
Literally fired my assistant. They are the best. Okay,
enjoy the template.
Yes, enjoy.
I had an investor who moved here and he was retiring. He sold a car wash where he lived out of state. And he had like this $400,000 from selling his car wash, which was sort of like his little side gig investment baby, right? And he was like, I'm moving here to be close to family. I'm retiring. I'm going to take this $400,000 and I'm going to I'm just going to buy 2 rentals. But he was very specific in that we bought brand new houses because he's like, I don't want to deal with a lot of maintenance. I want, it to be relatively easy. I'm going to manage it because it's just 2. And he's had these 2 for, I think that was 5 years ago. We bought them at the same time. They were brand new. Of course, he's had no issues with either of them. He's had a tenant and one that stayed there for 3 years.
Oh my
3 years.
That's awesome.
So every year he would just be like, hey, will you write me a new lease? I mean, like I don't represent rentals typically, but if I have an investor like that or someone who maybe is moving and decided to hang on to their old house and lease it out, I will do lease listing and charge a 1 month's rent for commission, right? So every year he'd be like, hey, will you just write a new lease? I'd be like, sure, no problem. But they sort of take care of themselves. He's relatively handy. If something small happens, he can just go handle it. And it's just, he put cash into it. So it's just really parking his money. You know what I mean? Like he was just setting it there so that he didn't have it, and have to deal with it, because I think he did a 1031 because he sold that car wash and he had this money and he needed to put it into real estate. Right. And then I had another investor who was very successful, and she was more of your leveraging type, and not really like crazy, but she bought a house that was below market value that needed some work. She put the work into it, put the tenants in place, and then it appraised for much higher, and she was able to still have 20% in it, but take some money out, and then she bought another. And that, I don't think that system is terrible if you don't save up enough money to do a 20% down payment every year or 2 or 3 or whatever. But those are my favorite too. But I don't represent a lot of investors either.
It's like, and I'm kind of with your first guy in that I would rather spend a little bit more to get either a better house that will demand a better tenant. Yeah. Well, and higher rent. Falling down. No, I don't want someone that's okay living in it. But there are investors that are like, oh yeah, someone will live in it. I'm like, yeah, but are you going to like fight that person every month for your rent? Are they going to take care? Who is okay living in this? Right. How are they going to take care of your home? Yes. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I've had clients who couldn't sell for whatever reason and had to put a tenant in there for a year or something. Like they were accidental landlords, right? Like that wasn't on their horizon. And I've had tenants that were so great that were like making upgrades to the house and like painting things. Like they would, not without permission, but like would be great, super great tenants. So I just think it does depend on the quality of the house you're putting them in. Yeah. And I mean, the only time that I'm like, oh, rental property is so annoying is when a vacancy occurs and I have to deal with getting it rented and all the showings and all the inquiries and all the filtering and showing up to show the house and the people don't show up and this and that. It's just I'm going to give you a little tip for the next time that happens. In my very few rental listings, but I had one just now, I have sort of developed a system. I do rental showings open house style, because typically when you put a rental listing on the market, you will get a slew of Zillow or Realtor.com or whatever inquiries in the first 48 hours. And I just wait until like the third day. And if it's a Saturday or Sunday, I did this last time. It was a Tuesday at noon. And I had 3 showings all at the same time, because you're right. Typically they will stand you up. Someone's going to stand you up. And if you have strewn those out over a week or 2 weeks and you're going to this place every day and someone stands you up, it's a pain in the butt and it's ruining your schedule. But if you do 3 at the same time or 4 or 5, and one of them stands you up, it doesn't matter. The other 3 are there. Well, I love a template. Oh, yeah. So I made a template that has, like, anytime I get an inquiry, they get this via text or email. Okay. It all says the same thing, Let's hear it. Every person gets this. And it says, thank you for your interest. These are the terms that are non-negotiable. Okay. All caps. No smoking. Refrigerator is included. Washer dryer is not. This is the first month's rent and deposit that would be needed in order to reserve it for you. Minimum of 600 credit score. Anything else, tenants are responsible for lawn care. 12-month lease minimum. Pets or no pets allowed. Anything that is like, this is non-negotiable, because what was annoying me is I would show up and show it and they'd be like, hey, will you take 900? I'm like, no. Oh, you don't allow this, or will you provide a washer dryer or this? So just that text alone, let them know up front, I'm not negotiating. Right. And then it ended with, if you are still interested, if you are okay with the above terms and are still interested in seeing the house, I will be there Saturday morning. Right. From 9 to 10:30. You show up. And, and I also like having their rent is to be paid electronically. There is no check or cash. So just anything that's important to you as a landlord. Yeah. And I like, knock on wood, I don't know why I have gotten lucky with my tenants. I don't know if it's that filtering process. Yeah. and that I am like treating it like a business
Right.
and just taking the emotion out of it and meeting them at the house and stuff like that. And setting the expectations up front so there are no surprises.
I think that's good.
But it's been fine so far.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's working.
And I'll let it sit longer before I reduce the price. Just to get someone in there.
Yeah.
And like that's what the savings is for.
Right.
Like if we need to go another month empty until the right person comes along,
that's
fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not bad. What's the longest one has been vacant?
I think one of them took me like 2 months to get rented.
That's not bad.
Yeah. Nothing has ever been crazy.
But you never
the good
reduced.
thing about buying them is you know how your mortgage skips a month.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I closed in July, I had until September
to get somebody in there.
Do my renovations if it needed any and then get it rented.
Yeah.
And I've always made that deadline.
I like it. That's nice. That's very good. Okay. Do you want to give any other tips for new investors or old investors or realtors who should be investors?
I think I really do think that everybody should have like 1 or 2 rental properties.
Yeah.
1 or 2 is easy if you do it the right way.
Right.
And take your time. And like, again, I will only buy it if I like it.
Personally.
Just because it's a good deal doesn't mean I want it.
Yeah.
Like the little $90,000 one I bought behind Fleur de Lis Pizza, I was like, this is so cute. You know, like I was excited about it.
Yeah.
All of my houses that I have ever bought, I have liked them. And if something ever happened, I would be able to live in any of them.
Yeah.
Happily.
Yeah. I think that's good.
I think it's important. You know, I think it should be fun.
Yeah.
And you should enjoy the properties that you buy. It's much more exciting when you actually are like proud of the house and like it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just because it's a good deal doesn't mean you should buy it.
I think that's an interesting tip.
Yeah.
I mean,
which is why I'm not a good investor realtor.
Right. Well, right. Because they just want them numbers in the deal and you're looking for something you would live in. Yeah. It's totally different. Your perspective is very different and probably might resonate with realtors who are like, I don't know that I really want to be a landlord. I'm not out there for the high risk investor part of it. The way you're handling it is totally different.
I don't feel like it's any risk. I feel like, okay, well, what about all the calls? That's the number one question I get. What about all the calls that you get? I'm like, what calls? Once they're rented, I never hear from these people.
Yeah.
Maybe that's because I take care of my houses.
Yeah. How often do you go check them?
I don't.
Yeah.
That's horrible. I shouldn't even admit that.
So you're just as bad as the property manager.
So once a year, I have all of my ACs cleaned and serviced.
Okay.
I have a relationship with my AC company, and they let me know how the house looks.
What's going on?
I'm like, do I need? And they're like, no, Alyssa, it's clean, it's fine, smells fine, looks fine. I'll email my tenants every now and then and just be like, hey, just want to make sure everything's good.
Everything's
my
working.
My AC guy also changes the filters when he goes, so he's kind of my checker, if you will.
Yeah, I think that's good.
And then I do have a termite contract on them all, and I have a relationship with the termite company.
Yeah.
And every time he goes out, he lets me know.
Does he do like a quarterly pest or just like a yearly termite?
A yearly termite. So twice a year, I have a professional that I trust.
Go there.
And then anytime, like, for example, during this big last rainstorm we had, a limb fell and hit a gutter and just knocked it off and kind of damaged the wood. So I had my contractor just go fix it. And I told him ahead of time, save me a trip. Like, hey, when you walk through the house to get to the backyard, will you just let me know how it looks? But the thing is that I also am at a place with my tenants where the gutter fell and he called me.
Yeah.
So if something else is broken,
you would know.
He's gonna call me. Like they live there.
Right.
So I will say I drive by them anytime I'm in the area.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't just like
pretend like they don't exist.
No, I do drive by them, and like for the most part, they're always in pretty decent condition. I even have like 2 young guys staying in one of them. And like every now and then the bushes are like kind of crazy, but they're such good tenants. Like all of my tenants, so like right now, are paying on the first. They're always timely. They text me or email me when something is wrong. So I have no reason to feel like I need to go all the time.
Okay.
And then when somebody does go because of something, I just say,
you check.
Can you check for me? Thank you.
Yeah. Tell me what's going on. Give me the update.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that's good for this one, unless you want to tell us something else.
I think the only other thing I have is I had some, according to the quote unquote experts.
Oh, let's hear what the experts.
Real estate is a good investment.
Okay, let's hear what the experts have
stocks,
to say.
Mutual bonds, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Reason number 1 is real estate has predictable cash flow, which is true because you know what you can rent it out for and you know how much your mortgage is going to be.
Yeah.
So you know what you're looking at. It's not going to be checking it every month, wondering if you're going to make money this month.
Right.
Like you should know.
You know.
It appreciates in value.
Mm-hmm.
My little disclaimer is if you take care of it.
Right.
Real estate can be leveraged. So we talked about that already. And it can be. I mean, there are ways to use leverage in a positive way. I think you just have to be careful not to overuse your house as a credit card and then you're 65 and still have a huge mortgage on your house.
Yeah.
Real estate provides equity buildup using other people's money. So basically what I'm saying is that you put the down payment and somebody else pays your mortgage for you.
Mm-hmm.
Real estate coincides with retirement, which basically just means, okay, right now it only makes $700 a month, but in 30 years when I'm ready to retire, it'll make $1,500 a month.
Right.
And then if you have, say you have 10 rental properties and they're each bringing in $1,000 a month, which we know is going to be more than that. You get $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
And you know it's going to be closer to $15,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like it should be added to whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be your only thing, but I think it should certainly be a big part of it.
I like it. We're going to do at least another episode or 2 on investing. I want to sort of talk about it from a flipping, renovating angle. And I want to also hear more about second homes because you didn't really tell us this, but we know you now have a vacation rental.
Yes.
So I want to hear more about that because I find that to be very interesting, but we'll save that for the next one.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic.
A whole other thing. Okay, so a different animal. Are you ready for the toast?
Yeah.
Okay, today, I didn't tell you this, we are going to toast to Mary McKinnon Nicole.
Okay.
Mary sent us a sweet message. She says she is from the great state of Michigan. She manages 2 offices with 100+ agents for one of the largest brokers there it's Real Estate One is her office. She recommends us to all of her agents. She's been walking since COVID-19, and we're the podcast she listens to on her walks.
Oh, that's awesome.
I want to toast to Mary because she's sharing it, and I think that's what we love the most is when everyone enjoys it but also shares it.
Yeah, thanks, Mary.
I know. Cheers to Mary.
Cheers, Mary. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Y'all have a great day. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Hustle Humbly podcast. Let us know who we should toast to for the next episode.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Hustle Humbly Podcast. If you have an episode, topic, or question, please email us at hustlehumblypodcast@gmail.com.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. See you next week. Bye.
This is the good life.